The world watched in awe as Angelina and Brad took their first steps together down the red carpet, a dazzling vision of Hollywood royalty. From the moment they met, there was an undeniable spark. Angelina's fierce intelligence and compassionate heart paired perfectly with Brad's easy charm and boundless creativity. They seemed impervious to the trappings of fame, finding sanctuary in one another's company. Early mornings were spent in sleepy contentment as Brad brewed coffee in their sprawling Bel Air home, while Angelina prepared a fresh fruit platter for breakfast. They lingered over the meal, sharing plans for upcoming film projects, humanitarian missions, and dreams of expanding their family beyond the 3 children they already adored. When work took them to distant sets, whether a sun-drenched villa in Italy or a windswept stretch of desert in Namibia, they transformed every assignment into an adventure. Weekends off were sacred, impromptu road trips in Brad's vintage convertible, afternoons kayaking through hidden coves, and evenings spent stargazing on a secluded beach. Together, they cultivated an intimate world where laughter and creative collaboration banished any hint of loneliness. Angelina channeled her boundless empathy into charity work for refugees and children's welfare, and Brad stood proudly by her side, often volunteering to read stories to displaced youngsters or to lift crates of supplies under the scorching sun. Back in Los Angeles, their home became a canvas of shared passions. Walls were hung with photographs from their travels. Angelina cradling a child in an orphanage outside Bangkok. Brad silhouetted against the Pyrenees. Shelves overflowed with books on philosophy, political science, and film theory. Music spilled from speakers in the living room, alternating between classical masterpieces and the latest jazz releases. They invited friends, actors, directors, activists to impromptu gatherings where ideas flowed as freely as the wine. In those moments, the Jolie-Pitt duo felt unstoppable, convinced that their partnership could reshape both art and society. Underneath the exhilaration, however, lay the first faint tremors of strain. Filming schedules grew more demanding. Angelina's directorial debut demanded every ounce of her energy, while Brad juggled 2 blockbusters in different hemispheres. Amid the accolades and flashbulbs, they began to miss the simplicity of their early days. Weekday dinners were often replaced by rushed takeout in trailers. Heartfelt conversations were postponed until the weekend, which all too frequently slipped away in press junkets and charity galas. Yet, whenever exhaustion threatened to cloud their bond, they clung to small rituals. A shared walk through their rose garden at dusk, hands entwined, a surprise note tucked into a script page, "Can't wait to see you tonight." Impromptu dance sessions to their favorite Motown tunes in the kitchen. These fleeting gestures revitalized their connection, reminding them why they fell in love in the first place. They spoke openly of their anxieties. Angelina admitted to feeling torn between motherhood and career, while Brad confessed his fear of never living up to her boundless confidence. In those moments, vulnerability became their greatest strength. As the months passed, the narrative of their golden years glowed with both triumph and tender uncertainty. They stood at the pinnacle of stardom, yet gazed toward an uncharted horizon, aware that sustaining such an extraordinary union would demand more than shared glamour. Beneath the surface of Hollywood's most envied romance, 2 compassionate souls quietly prepared themselves for the next act, one that would test the limits of trust, resilience, and the very definition of love. This chapter of promise and devotion set the stage for what lay ahead: the subtle shadows of doubt, the intoxicating lure of new connections, and the ultimate reckoning that would challenge everything Angelina and Brad had built together. Beneath the glossy veneer of their golden years, subtle tremors began to ripple through Angelina and Brad's once unshakable partnership. It started with small fissures, missed FaceTime calls, curt text messages, and the lingering scent of exhaustion that clung to Angelina's clothes when she returned from distant shoots. Brad, enmeshed in back-to-back action scenes on the other side of the globe, assumed these were simply the byproducts of fame. Yet, in quiet moments, when the laughter faded and the circuit of press tours went dark, he felt a growing distance between them, a widening chasm that neither apology nor affectionate gesture could fully bridge. While Angelina immersed herself in the final edits of her directorial debut, she found solace in late-night conversations with her cinematographer, Lionel Dubois. Tall, magnetic, and keenly attuned to the art of storytelling, Lionel offered revelations that stirred something deep within her. Over glasses of red wine in a dimly lit Parisian cafe, they dissected character motivations and narrative arcs, their dialogue punctuated by fleeting glances and shared laughter. Angelina appreciated Lionel's fearless passion for cinema and his unwavering belief in her vision. In his presence, she felt artistically liberated, a force no paparazzi lens could ever capture. Back in Los Angeles, Brad struggled to decipher Angelina's growing reticence. He noticed how she lingered over phone calls, her eyes shuddering when his name appeared on the screen. He tried to engage her in playful banter about the trailer edits, but she would only brush him off, promising to share the final cut later. Late one evening, he caught her scribbling in a leather-bound notebook, pen poised over pages filled with sketches and film notes, not for their children's bedtime story, but for her work with Lionel. The sight of her immersed in another world felt like a betrayal of the cozy domesticity they had so carefully cultivated. As Angelina's film premiere drew near, her world spun faster. Publicists arranged VIP screenings, critics raved in advance, and fellow directors showered her with praise. Yet each accolade illuminated the void inside her, the absence of Brad's encouraging embrace, the unshared excitement of a milestone achieved together. Alone in her suite at the Ritz, she scrolled through photos of their early adventures, road trips along the Pacific Coast Highway, spontaneous scuba dives in Australia, candlelit family dinners in their Bel Air dining room. Each snapshot pulsed with joy, but also with the question that now haunted her. Had the relentless chase of artistic fulfillment overshadowed the private intimacy she once treasured? Brad's alarm bells truly rang when he intercepted a message on Angelina's phone from LD, sent at 2:17 a.m. The cryptic note read, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow at the screening. There's something I want to show you." His heart pounded as he imagined them together, shoulder to shoulder, but not with him. Confrontation loomed, yet he hesitated. He did not want to appear insecure or invasive. Instead, he dialed her number, his voice steady, but the words trembling. "Angelina, is everything okay?" She hesitated before replying. "Everything's fine, just busy. I'll call you after the premiere." The deflection stung more than any admission of guilt. In the days leading up to the world premiere in Cannes, the couple moved through separate rehearsals and publicity events as if tethered to different orbits. Angelina laughed graciously on the red carpet beside Lionel, cameras capturing their camaraderie, while Brad stood on the periphery, autographing programs with a forced smile. When speeches began, Angelina's tribute to her crew included a pointed acknowledgement of Lionel's invaluable creative partnership. Brad's applause felt hollow. The words echoed like an unwelcome reminder that shared success was slipping through his fingers. That night, after the final applause had died down, Angelina returned to their private villa in the south of France. Brad confronted her in the courtyard, moonlight tracing his tense jawline. "Why didn't you tell me about Lily's gala?" he demanded, referring to a charity event Angelina had attended with Lionel but never mentioned. She looked away, her shoulders sagging under the weight of unspoken truth. "I thought you'd understand that this film, it's bigger than just us," she whispered. Brad turned away, the silence between them stretching into something unbearable. In that heavy stillness, two paths lay before them, one toward confession and reconciliation, the other toward the widening shadows of doubt that threatened to swallow their golden years whole. The first crack in their facade of normalcy appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning in Malibu when Brad returned home early from a sunrise surfing session. He found Angelina's key still in the front door, an unheard-of lapse given her punctuality. Inside, the house was eerily silent, no laughter of their children, no music drifting from the kitchen. He followed the faint glow of the television to the living room and froze as he recognized the images on the screen. Angelina, hour after hour, chatting intimately with Lionel Dubois during a live interview in Paris. The way she leaned forward in her chair, her laughter flowing freely, felt like a physical blow. Brad's breath caught in his throat. He sank onto the sofa cushion, as though the weight of every unspoken worry had suddenly pressed down on him. His heart pulsed with a cocktail of disbelief and fury. Had she really kept this hidden? The seamless editing of her life, careful social media posts, smiling family photos, crumbled all at once. He scrambled for her phone, scrolling through recent calls and messages until he found the late-night texts from Lionel. "Still can't get that look out of my head," and "meet me after the gala." The blatant affection in those words seared through Brad's remaining illusions. In that moment, he realized that Angelina's distant words of reassurance, "everything's fine," and "busy with work," had been nothing more than shields shielding a secret he was never meant to breach. Consumed by a mix of anger and heartbreak, Brad confronted her that evening as she walked through the front door, arms full of groceries. The golden light of the setting sun illuminated her tired eyes, but Brad saw something darker there, an emotional distance he'd never felt before. "Who is Lionel Dubois, really?" he demanded, voice low but venomous. Angelina hesitated, dropping a carton of eggs onto the floor. She knelt to gather the scattered shells, her hands trembling. "He's my cinematographer," she said softly, "and my friend." But Brad shook his head. "A friend who sends you love letters at midnight? A friend you hide from me?" He turned away, unable to absorb her attempts at explanation. The home they had built together felt suddenly foreign, the walls echoing with betrayal. In the days that followed, every reminder of their life together brought fresh pain. Brad slept on the couch to keep the distance physical and emotional. Angelina retreated into her editing suite, poring over footage with robotic precision. They passed each other in the hallway like strangers, their interactions reduced to terse nods and clipped thank yous. At breakfast, Brad stirred his cereal without tasting it, staring down at the ripples in the milk as though searching for lost fragments of trust. Angelina, meanwhile, forced herself to smile at their children, but the warmth in her eyes had dimmed. Unable to bear the silence, Brad scheduled a family therapy session. In the sterile office of a therapist, they sat on separate couches, the tension palpable. Angelina's voice cracked as she acknowledged her emotional infidelity, admitting that her connection with Lionel had filled a void she'd been too afraid to disclose. Brad listened, tears forming at the corners of his eyes, as she confessed how the intoxicating rush of creative validation had blinded her to the pain it would cause him. His response was raw anguish. "You cheated on the promise we made to each other, to be honest, to be partners in every sense." That afternoon, they emerged from therapy hand in hand, both exhausted by the unvarnished truth. The path ahead was uncertain. Rebuilding trust would require more than mere apologies. It demanded time, transparency, and a willingness to confront their deepest insecurities. As they walked out into the fading daylight, the ocean breeze carried both the sting of betrayal and a fragile hope. Their golden years had shattered against the rocks of doubt, but in the bitter awakening that followed, they found the first glimmer of possibility, a chance to redefine their love on foundations more honest and resilient than before. In the pale light of dawn, Angelina stood at the edge of their patio, overlooking the Pacific, the salt breeze tangling her hair. Brad joined her silently, each carrying the weight of weeks spent apart in body and spirit. Their children slept inside, unaware of the fragile moment unfolding between their parents. Angelina reached for Brad's hand, her fingertips trembling. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice barely audible above the crashing surf. Brad closed his eyes, drawing strength from her apology, but also steeling himself against further pain. "I know," he replied simply, "but sorry alone won't fix this." They spent the morning talking in halting sentences. No grand declarations, only truths. Angelina confessed that her pursuit of artistic fulfillment had turned into escapism, a way to dodge the vulnerabilities of their marriage. Brad admitted that his own workaholism had left her feeling isolated, pushing her towards someone who listened without reservation. Each revelation cut deeper than any accusation. With every admission, they laid bare the tender cracks in their relationship. Their first joint step toward healing came in the form of a creative compromise. Angelina agreed to involve Brad in the final edit of her film, inviting him into the creative space that had lured her away. In turn, Brad promised to carve out dedicated us time each week. No phones, no scripts, just unhurried meals and walks on the beach. These gestures were small but intentional. They planted seeds of collaboration and reconnection where mistrust had taken root. That summer evening, they hosted a private screening of Angelina's film at home, inviting only close friends and family. As the credits rolled, Brad rose to his feet and addressed the intimate gathering. His voice wavered with emotion as he praised Angelina's vision and resilience. Then, turning to her, he added, "Thank you for trusting me enough to let me in." The applause that followed was heartfelt, but more meaningful was the look they exchanged, a silent promise to rebuild on honesty rather than illusion. Counseling continued, shifting focus from crisis management to growth. They learned new patterns of communication, how to articulate needs without blame, how to listen with genuine curiosity, and how to celebrate small victories. Angelina practiced checking in daily, asking not only, "How was your day?" but, "What do you need from me right now?" Brad learned to share his fears of inadequacy, of losing her, and to accept comfort instead of retreating into work. With each session, the formidable barrier of shame between them softened. Autumn arrived, and with it, a family retreat to the Colorado mountains. Away from flashing cameras and Hollywood demands, they hiked through golden aspens, their laughter echoing under clear skies. Around the campfire at night, Angelina and Brad took turns sharing what they loved most about each other. When Angelina spoke of Brad's unwavering kindness, he reached for her hand. When Brad described her fearless creativity, Angelina leaned into his embrace. Under the starlit canopy, their vows seemed less like relics of their wedding day and more like living commitments, renewed in the crucible of hardship. By winter, the scars of betrayal had not vanished, but they had become part of their story, a testament to survival rather than defeat. In their Bel Air home, photographs now included snapshots of family game nights, early morning coffees shared in matching robes, and quiet moments of reading side by side. Angelina's next directorial effort would be a story about forgiveness, an homage to what they had endured and overcome together. Brad, inspired by her resilience, began drafting a screenplay exploring themes of trust and redemption. Their love, once gilded and assumed unbreakable, had been tested by shadows of doubt and the sting of betrayal. In the reckoning that followed, Angelina and Brad discovered that true partnership transcends perfection. It is forged in the willingness to confront pain, to share vulnerability, and to choose each other again and again. As they looked toward the horizon, hand in hand, they carried with them a deeper faith in themselves, in each other, and in the redemptive power of love.